All right, very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Unacademy YouTube Festival. Just give me a moment as I confirm if we are live or not. Just let me check. Uh, right, I don't think that we are. All right, I'm trying again. A very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Unacademy YouTube Festival. Just give me a moment as I confirm if we are live or not. I'm trying for the second time. Allow me, some leeway. I still don't think that we are. Nope, I cannot see if we are live or not. Okay, I'm trying for the third time now. Give all right, let's check if we are live. Give me a moment, guys. All right, I think we're finally live. Okay, cool. Yeah. Right. So today, we're going to be talking about subject verb agreement, guys. Today we're going to be talking about subject verb agreement. But before we jump into, the lesson that I've planned for us today, allow me as I introduced the Unacademy portal to you. Unacademy is India's largest learning platform, right? When it comes to cracking any kind of competitive exam, right? It's the largest test preparation platform. I am Prankur Arora. I'm going to be your instructor on this journey of learning today, wherein I'll be talking about subject verb agreement. Typically, I take all topics pertaining to the verbal ability as well as the reading comprehension portions of these exams, right? So yeah, that's me. I've been in the learning industry for a while. I've been a trainer for various organizations such as Marico, Becton Dickinson, Interglobe. That's my foray. Um, I am a published author as well. I wrote this book called It's Not Funny, right? The book is a work of satirical fiction, right? So if you're fond of satire, if you're fond of fiction or reading in general, you could check it out. It's available on Amazon. It even garnered glowing testimonials from the likes of Papa CJ and Biswapati Sarkar. I hold advanced certifications in facilitation from an American organization called Leadership Management International, and I run this startup called Thought Sutras. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. And as mentioned, I'll be essentially taking you through various aspects of verbal as well as the reading comprehension portions of these management exams. Right, so when it comes to the pedagogy, an academy platform offers you quite a lot of features such as daily life classes wherein all kind of interaction between the learners as well as the educators happens in real time. You can chat with your educator, engage in discussion, ask your doubts. All the question answers they're conducted in the form of live polls. Hi Sneha, welcome to the class. I'm really sorry for all the inconvenience that was caused yesterday as well as today during the beginnings. But now we're finally settled. We've got all our tech problems sorted, right? And we're here in the class. Right. So we also conduct regular tests and quizzes on the platform, right? The idea of these tests and quizzes is to help you develop perspective about your learning journey, to help you understand where you are versus where you want to be, right? And on the platform, you will come across all kinds of structured courses which are audited by subject matter experts, which are prepared by subject matter experts. And with one subscription, you get unlimited access to it all. Right. So before we move forward, I would request you to subscribe to the Unacademy CAT4MBA YouTube channel. Right. Click on the like button so that more people get notified about these classes and that they can tune and they can join in. And you can also access the CAT4MBA Telegram channel wherein you will get all the updates, all the notifications pertaining to anything and everything about management exams. Right. And this is the subscription model. You can clearly see as the time period goes up, the cost of the subscription per month goes down. And if you use my name Prankur as your referral code, you get an extra 10% off on any of the subscriptions that you opt for. Having said that, let's jump into the lesson now, the lesson that I've prepared for today. Right. So the lesson is for noun verb agreement. What do I mean by noun verb agreement? What I mean by noun verb agreement is that we're talking about uh, how in a particular sentence, in any sentence, the noun and the verb, they've got to agree in number, right? So if you've got plural noun, you need a plural verb. If you've got a singular noun, you need a singular verb, right? So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. When we talk about noun verb agreement, that's pretty much it, right? A plural noun will always take a plural verb, and a singular noun will always take a singular verb. Having said that, let's look at an example, right? How do we check? Hi Sonal, welcome to the class. Today we're talking about noun verb agreement, right? Today we're talking about noun verb agreement, subject verb agreement for that matter. It's one and the same thing. So, how do we check, right? For example, look at this sentence. My sister is coming back home from Mumbai. What is the verb in this scenario? The verb in this scenario is coming, right? You turn it into a question. Step 2 is turn it into a question, right? Who is coming? Or what is coming, right? Step 3, answer that question. Answer that question and check whether that noun is singular or plural. Who is coming or what is coming? My sister, right? Sister is singular, right? Sister is singular. And step 4 is you check the verb again and make sure that they're in agreement. So is coming was singular, my sister is singular. That means the sentence is perfectly all right, and the noun and the verb, they are in agreement, and the sentence makes complete grammatical sense, right? Let's look at some examples. Sentence number 1. They want to win the cricket match. What do you think is the verb in this sentence? Sonal, Sneha, what do you think is the verb here? What do you think is the verb here? Want to win, right? Want. So want to win is your verb, right? And clearly want is what? Want is a plural verb, right? Now we turn it into a question. Who want to win or what want to win? The answer for that is they. They want to win. They is your pronoun. So in this case, your subject is a pronoun, right? Clarity issue, sir. Alright, Sneha, just look at these examples. Try to follow me and I'll explain it once again. They is your pronoun and they is also plural, right? They is plural, my verb is plural, so both of them are in agreement and the sentence is grammatically correct, right? Sneha, look at the second example, right? And just answer the question that I ask you. The dormitory has several clean beds available for tonight. What do you think is the verb in this scenario, right? So the lesson for today is about subject verb agreement, and what I'm teaching you right now is the procedure to check whether the subject and the verb are in agreement or not, right? So look at this sentence. The dormitory has several clean beds available for tonight. What is the verb in this question? What is the verb? Has, right? So Sonal and Sneha, both of them are saying that it's has. Has is the verb, right? Has is singular, right? Step number two is you turn this verb into a question. Who has or what has several clean beds? The answer for that is dormitory. So dormitory is your common noun. The dormitory has several clean beds available for tonight. Now we know for a fact that dormitory is also singular, right? Since dormitory is singular and the verb has is also singular, the subject and the verb are in agreement and the sentence is perfectly fine. Let's look at the third question, right? The third example. The number of internet users in India is increasing rapidly. What is your verb? What is your verb in this scenario? What is your verb in this scenario? Is. Is increasing. Hi, Surili, Sonal, Sneha, all of you say is. Is increasing. Is your auxiliary verb and increasing is your main verb, right? So is increasing is clearly singular, right? Now step number two is we turn it into a question. Who is increasing or what is increasing, right? The answer to that is the number. The number is increasing. The number is also singular, right? Since number is singular and is increasing is also singular, the subject and the verb are in agreement and the sentence is perfectly fine. Now let's look at the last example. The kids are enjoying the weekend trip taken by us. What is your verb in this scenario? Are enjoying, right? Are enjoying is clearly the verb, right? We turn it into a question. Who are enjoying or what are enjoying? The answer is the kids, right? The kids. Kids is obviously plural, right? We go back and we check whether the verb is plural or not. The verb is also plural since the subject and the verb both are plural. This sentence has subject verb agreement and is grammatically correct, right? So this is the procedure to check whether the subject and the verb are in agreement or not. Clearly you will not get such simple sentences in your exam, but I wanted to begin with base sentences so that as we go on in the class we are able to understand it better and we are able to solve the questions that I'll put forth, right? Now let's understand the voice when it comes to subject verb agreement, right? And if you notice, the first slide said noun verb agreement, right? Now I'll make that distinction. Why do I call it noun verb agreement and not subject verb agreement? Because what happens is that when we shift the voice, when we change the voice, your object becomes the subject, right? And the reference point for the verb changes. Now let's look at an example, right? Auxiliary verb is, for example, यहाँ पे are enjoying is your verb phrase, so are is your auxiliary verb, enjoy is your main verb, right? Is increasing, is your auxiliary verb, increasing is your main verb. So auxiliary verbs are essentially the forms of be, do, as well as has, right? So is, are, am, right? These are auxiliary verbs. Do, does, did, this is auxiliary verb. Has, have, had, these are auxiliary verbs, right? Even words such as could, might, may, would, these are auxiliary verbs. So essentially auxiliary verbs are helping verbs, right? Sometimes they are used alone. For example, here has is used alone, right? So sometimes auxiliary verbs are used alone, but more often than not they combine with the main verb to form a verb phrase, such as are enjoying, is increasing. These are verb phrases where you have a main verb as well as a helping verb, right? So now look at the sentence. Administrators have identified a new rule for cricket. Clearly, this is an active voice where your focus is the subject. Administrators, right? Have identified. Have identified is your verb, right? We turn it into a question. Who have identified or what have identified, right? The answer is administrators. Administrators have identified a new rule for cricket. Administrators is plural, the verb is also plural, so they are in agreement. Now look at the performer of the action. Who or what is doing the action of identifying? Administrators are doing the action of identified. And when you turn the verb into a question, who or what have identified, the answer is the same, administrators. Right? So the reference point for the verb as well as the performer of the verb, they are the same. Right? They are the same when it comes to active voice. Now look at the sentence in passive voice. A new rule of cricket has been identified by the administrators. Here your verb is has been identified. Now let me turn this into a question. Who has been identified or what has been identified? The answer is a new rule, right? New rule of cricket has been identified. So the reference point for the verb is a new rule, right? Need, dare, ought to. Then what about this auxiliary? They are also auxiliary verbs. Sneha, they are also auxiliary verbs. Yeah. New rule of cricket has been identified. Now you turn it into a question. Who has been identified? What has been identified? A new rule. So the reference point for the verb is a new rule, right? At the same time, who is doing the action of identifying? Administrators are doing the action of identifying. So what happens is, in the case of passive voice, the reference point for the verb and the performer of the verb are different, right? That is why it is very very important to turn the verb into a question and to look for the reference point and to check for agreement there, right? Because the performer of the action, right, the performer of the action, which is the subject, it changes when it comes to the passive voice because the focus becomes the object, right? So intuitively हमारा ध्यान पता है कहाँ जाता है? Intuitively we think, okay, we have a verb, let me look for who is the performer of the verb or what is the performer of the verb and check for agreement there. But that is not the case when it comes to passive voice. That is why I always believe in turning the verb into a question so that I can find out the reference point for the verb and check for agreement there. Active voice ke case mein it's the same thing. But when it comes to passive voice, it becomes a tricky scenario, slightly tricky scenario, right? Let's look at some examples, right? My cousin and her husband are looking forward to the birth of their first child. Are looking is clearly your verb, right? For change into off. Why? For change into off. Why? Because the focus shifted, right? Administrators have identified a new rule for cricket, right? A new rule for cricket. So focus is the subject there. But when it comes to turning it into, and when it comes to turning it into passive voice, right? This becomes your object, right? So here it was your object and here it is basically becoming your focus when it comes to passive voice. That is why the preposition has changed. But you don't really have to read into it, right? You don't have to read into it because this was only to give you an example. तुम्हें ऐसे क्वेश्चंस नहीं मिलेंगे इन योर मैनेजमेंट एग्जाम्स. दिस वाज ओनली टू गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, अ न्यू रूल फॉर क्रिकेट बिकॉज द फोकस हियर इज सब्जेक्ट. But passive voice mein focus becomes the object, so a new rule of cricket has been identified. That is why the preposition changed, right? Okay. My cousin and her husband are looking forward to the birth of their first child, right? Now clearly your verb here is are looking. Who are looking? Who are looking, you turn it into a question. My cousin and her husband. So my cousin and her husband, I'm using and here, so this means it is a plural subject, right? So when I turn it into a question and I look for the reference point for the verb, it is basically my cousin and her husband, right? This is your subject. At the same time, who are performing the action of looking? The cousin and the husband. So this is an active voice. That is why your reference point and the performer of the action are the same. But when you look at the second sentence, right? The birth of their first child is being looked forward to by my cousin and her husband, right? This is your verb, is being looked forward, right? Is being looked is your verb. Turn it into a question. What is being looked or who is being looked? The answer is the birth, right? And the birth is a singular noun. Birth is a singular noun, right? So birth of the first child is being, so the reference point of the verb is the birth, but who are performing the action of looking? The cousin and the husband. So do you see how the reference point for the verb changed and the performer of the verb changed, right? So when you turn it into passive voice, the reference point for the verb and the performance of the verb changes, right? For example, look at this. The bushfires are ravaging the Amazon forest. Who are ravaging or what are ravaging? The bushfires, right? And what is performing the action of ravaging? The bushfires. So in both the cases, the answer is your bushfires. Why? Because this is active voice. Now look at the fourth sentence. This is in passive voice. The Amazon forest is being ravaged. Is being ravaged by bushfires. What is being ravaged? Or who is being ravaged? The Amazon forest. But what is performing the action of ravaging? Bushfires is performing the action of ravaging. So the reference point for the verb changes and your subject here becomes singular. That is why you have a singular verb. Whereas in active voice you had a plural verb. Why? Because the performer of the action as well as the reference point for the verb, they were the same. Right? So I just wanted for us to understand how things change a little when it comes to the active voice and the passive voice. Right? Now let's look at some rules. Right? Let's look at some rules now. When it comes to singular and plural verbs, you always add s or es to the end of the verb to make it singular. Right? For example, they make food. Right? He makes food. Right? So you can clearly see that when I add s or an es to the verb, it becomes singular. Now it is the opposite in the case of nouns, because when you add an s or an es to the end of the nouns, they become plural, right? For example, my friends, this is plural. My friends, they like the new apartment. Now turn the verb into singular, likes, and the noun also becomes singular by removing the s or the es. My sister likes the gift I got her for Rakhi. Right? So it is something that is very, very simple, but something that people tend to forget more often than not. Right? Let's look at a few more rules. Now, there are a few nouns that seem plural, but they are singular in meaning. Right? For example, the news is depressing today. News looks like a plural noun because it has an s in the end, but it is singular in meaning. The United States is an interesting country, right? Why is it plural? Because United States as a country was formed by a lot of states coming together. That is why we call it United States, right? United States, it looks like a plural noun, but it is singular in meaning, right? Gulliver's Travels looks like a plural noun, but it is singular in meaning. Gulliver's Travels is a great satire, right? At the same time, when we are referring to a sum of money, right? When we are referring to sum of money, we always give it a singular verb, right? 10 rupees has no value. Whenever we are talking about time period, whenever we are talking about what? We are talking about time period. Whenever we are talking about time period, it is always singular. 10 years is a long time, right? So sum of money or time period, you always give it a singular verb. Let's look at a few more structures, right? John and his sister, right? This clearly becomes what? Using and, your subject becomes plural, right? But there are other additive phrases. For example, together with. The scientist, together with some doctors, was convinced about a new cure for cancer. Why do we say that? Right? If two or more subjects, they are joined by, you know, additive phrases or prepositionary phrases. For example, look at this: with, along with, together with, as well as, in addition to, moreover. Whenever your subjects, they are attached together, they are stitched together by additive phrases such as these, right? Then we must, then the verb, which is this, was convinced, this is your verb, right? Then the verb will always take the form of the first subject. The verb will always take the form of first subject. Here scientist is singular, That is why your verb is singular. Look at the second example. His friends along with Amit are coming. Why? Because you are using an additive phrase such as along with. Whenever we use additive phrases, the verb takes the form of the first subject. Right? So always remember this. Right? We have other additive phrases as well. Additive phrases such as, in addition to, moreover, together with, as well as, along with, together with. These are all your additive phrases, and there are other phrases as well. For example, accompanied by. Accompanied by is also an additive phrase. Right? Remember this. Accompanied by. We have additive phrases such as, also. Also is also an additive phrase. Also. Wait, I spelled it incorrectly. Give me a moment. Yeah. Your also is an additive phrase. What else? We've got, additive phrases. Besides is an additive phrase, right? Besides is also an additive phrase, right? So whenever you are using additive phrases, remember that the verb takes the form of the first subject, right? Now let's look at a few more structures such as neither nor and either or. Right? Look at the example. Neither my uncle nor his kids are coming to the reception. So whenever we use additive phrase as much as, together with, yes, these are all additive phrases, Sneha. Neither X nor Y. Either X or Y. So whenever you use neither X nor Y construction or either X or Y construction, the verb always takes the form of the Y component. Neither my uncle nor his kids. This is your Y component. This is plural. That is why your verb takes a plural form. Right? Subject nearer to it. Exactly. Either the wind or the waves make the sound. The waves is plural. That is why your verb is also plural. Whereas, when you use either or neither in isolation, the verb always takes a singular form. Either of these pieces is good for me. Neither of the siblings is coming. Right? So remember this. Very, very important. Right? Now we come to the fag end of, our rules before we solve questions. The usage of each or every, right? The usage of each or every. Whenever we use each, right? Each of the players plays well, right? If each, uh, you know, comes before the subject, players is your subject. If each comes before the subject, the verb has to be singular. But when each comes after the subject, look at this. They each play well. Right? Whenever each comes after the subject, it takes the form of the subject. If the subject is plural, the verb will be plural. If the subject is singular, the verb will be singular. Right? But when each comes before the subject, it takes a singular form. Right? The same is the case with every. Same is the case with every. Right? If every comes before the subject, always takes a singular form. Gets is a singular verb. Right? Now there's that. And when it comes to pronouns, when it comes to indefinite pronouns such as everyone, everybody, right? We studied pronouns a couple of days back. Everybody, nobody, right? We had anybody, right? We had somebody, right? Whenever we use indefinite pronouns, the verb always takes a singular form. Everyone in the session has to participate. Whereas there are a few pronouns which we called sanam pronouns, if you guys remember, right? If you guys remember, sanam pronouns: some, any, none, all, many. Sanam pronouns are more often than not followed by the preposition of. And when it comes to the usage of sanam pronouns, we always look at what is coming after the preposition and the verb takes the form of that. So, for example, some of the utensils are broken. At the same time, we can write some of the bread. Some of the bread is rotten. Right here, your verb is singular. Why? Because my subject bread is also singular. Some of the bread is rotten. Some of the utensils are broken. So we look at what is coming after the preposition of. If the subject is plural, the verb will be plural. If the subject is singular, the verb will be singular. So that is the case of indefinite pronouns, right? Now let's look at a question. 3/4 of the team dash in favor of postponing the practice session. Why we choose singular verb in case of pounds, rupees, miles? Because Sneha, whenever we talk about a sum of money, it always, verb always takes a singular form, right? 10 rupees has no value. That is what the rule in the English language is, that whenever we talk about sums of money or periods of time, the verb always takes a singular value. Alright? Let's solve this question now. Three fourths of the team dash in favor of postponing the practice session. What do you think the answer is here? Sonil, Surili, Sneha, what do you guys think is the answer in this scenario? Is exactly three fourths of the team is in favor of postponing the practice session. Why? Because whenever we talk about fractions or parts, right, phrases such as half of, right, half of, or one third of, right, one third of. Whenever we talk about such phrases, we use the same logic where we look after the preposition of. If what is coming after the preposition of is singular, the verb will be singular. If what is coming after the preposition is plural, the verb will be plural. For example, team is a singular collective noun. That is why we take a singular verb, right? That is why we take a singular verb. For example, half of the food half of the food is finished, right? Why do we use is here? Why? Because food is your singular noun. That is why your that is why your verb is taking a singular form, right? So is your answer in this scenario. Well done. Let's look at the next question. It was the mother's concern, not the father's beatings, that dashed the kid to reform his ways. What do you guys think is the answer? Has motivated. Exactly. It was the mother's concern, not the father's beatings, that has motivated the kid to reform his ways. Well done. Choose the incorrect parts. So the sentence is broken down into four parts. You have to choose the incorrect part. Guys, what do you think is the incorrect part here? Second. Okay. Why do you say second? Look at what is the verb. What is the verb? It is a world of infinite joys and sorrows that never make. Right? Turn the verb into a question. What makes or who makes? What is the subject here? The subject is a world, right? World is singular. Why joys and sorrows will be singular? The world is a singular subject, right? So you need a singular verb as well. The answer is it is a world of infinite joys and sorrows that never makes it to the exalted heights of fame and celebrity. So yes, Neha got this right. Third part is the incorrect part. Infinite joys and sorrows. This is a parallel subject, right? Joys and sorrows is parallel. It is a world of infinite joy and sorrow. Joy and sorrow could also have been alright. Joys and sorrows can also be okay. But world is a singular subject, so you need a singular verb, right? Let's look at the next question. How about this one? What do you guys think? Every year, my aunts or my mother buy me new clothes for my birthday. Exactly, Sneha is getting it right. Every year, my aunts or my mother buys me the subject that is closest to the verb, right? Since mother is a singular subject, the verb needs to be singular as well. Good job. Let's look at the next question. Choose the correct sentence. This is a previous year CAT question, right? This one. Fourth. Third. So when it comes to additive phrases, Sonal, we always look at what? We always look at, let me take you back to the slide. Whenever we talk about additive phrases, the verb always takes the form of the first subject, right? Together with, along with, as well as, the verb always takes the form of the first subject, right? So when you look at the question, the professor as well as the students, professor is a singular subject, right? So you need a singular verb as well. Ver is a plural verb, right? We're talking about how the verb needs to agree with the first subject. The first subject is professor, it is singular, this needs to be singular as well. All right, Sneha. And between options 1 and 4, we'll go with option 1. Why? Because there's fragmentation, right? So I'll come to this when we study punctuation, why we need to fragment the sentence when we are using an additive phrase. But one thing that you got right was that we need a singular verb. Now between 1 and 4, we'll choose option 1, right? And I'll come to that later when we study punctuation. But look at this question in the meantime. Choose the incorrect paths. Can I download these slides? Buddy, you can download these slides. What you can do is when you go to the Unacademy platform, there I've conducted a session on subject verb agreement as well. You can watch it for free, right? You can watch that session for free by using my name to unlock it. Prankur. Prankur is my name. You can unlock that and watch it for free, right? I took this session there yesterday, right? And therein you can download the entire PDF. R will be is, exactly. R will be is. $500 per week is not something to be scoffed at. How about this? After years of research, a team of doctors and medical researchers. Which option do you guys think? Again, turn it into a question. Who are we talking about? What is the subject here? Right? Turn the verb into a question. The answer is team. Team is singular, Sonal. Team is singular. Exactly. Has finally concluded. After years of research, a team of doctors and medical researchers has finally concluded. Let's look at the next question. Which part contains a mistake? Which part contains the mistake? Third part, exactly. In the history of mankind, it has always been the minority which has been able to change the world. So, when it comes to words like majority and minority, right? So, for these two words, we need to look at the context of the sentence to understand whether the verb will be singular or plural, right? So, the logic is that if we are referring to the entire group, right, for example, here we are referring to the entire group, right? If we are referring to the entire group, we use a singular verb, right? In the history of mankind, it has always been the minority, so we are talking about the group, right? Minority as a group, right? That is why we'll take it as a collective noun and we'll give it a singular verb. But when we are referring to individual members of the group, then it takes a plural form. For example, the sentence will be the majority, the majority of politicians, the majority of politicians, the majority of politicians are idiots, right? Here I am referring to individual members of the entire group. That is why the verb takes a plural form. But when I'm talking about the
Good evening, students. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest learning online platform. This is Abhishek, your educator today. I would be taking class on shortcuts to syllogisms. Before that, a quick introduction. This is Abhishek. Did my graduation from SRCC, my MBA from IIM Bangalore. I've been in this industry for over a decade now, and I have trained thousands of students to top IIMs. Today, I would be discussing shortcuts to syllogisms, which is an important topic for various examination, both undergraduate as well as postgraduate level. And some of you would be writing IIFT now, 24th. This is important from that point of view also. What will you get in Unacademy would be multiple things. So we conduct daily live classes, guys. Your courses are structured. You get unlimited access both to the educators and to the content. So anybody who is on Unacademy, you get access to that teacher and to his or her content. Uh, these are few students who made us proud this year. They got good percentile in CAT, and yeah, so you could be one of them next year, or let's say the last exam that are remaining towards the end of this phase. We, as I said, we do multiple batches. So few batches which were launched this week are on 11th, 12th, and 13th of Jan. So there are multiple batches to launch both weekday, weekend, and you definitely find a schedule that works for you. And Unacademy has also started Champions League, which is competing among the peer groups. So you can compete and you get the analysis at the same time. All right. So let me start with the topic here. So basically, since as the topic suggests, it's a shortcut to Silogs. So I won't be discussing the theory here, right? I have already discussed the theory in my earlier classes. So you can actually look at the theory there. Today I am directly coming to the shortcuts. So yeah, so here let's start with the class directly. Those who are watching this session, if you could just drop me a hi so that I can interact with you. Those who have logged in, if you can just drop in a hi so that I can connect with you, I can interact with you. Yeah, I'll take some time to start because I think there would be few students who just messaged me that they will be joining. Yeah, so I'll start in a bit. Those who have joined, if you could just drop me a hi, guys. Hi Ishan, hi Harshvardhan, how are you? Hello. Yeah, just give me 2 minutes, guys, because the theory is important here. I don't want to start and then people join us and then it will become difficult, right, for them to understand. So we'll start in a bit. Hi Paras, hello, how are you? Okay. So the shortcut that I discussed today is called FIFA E, right? This is called FIFA E. There are basically this is basically 5 rules, right? So in the beginning it might seem a lot to you, but it is actually not. Once we understand the 5 rules, it will become extremely simple to solve the sets after that. Okay, so first of all, tell me the difference between 1 and 2. What do you think is the difference between 1 and 2? Both have same premises, right? Both of them have same facts. So what is the difference here? The facts are same, but what is the difference? बताओ जो लोग देख रहे हैं, सिमिलैरिटी क्या है और डिफरेंस क्या है? Both of these have the same facts, but the conclusion is different. If you look at this one, this conclusion, alphabets are letters, right? Some numbers are alphabets. Alphabets come from premise number 2 and letters is coming from premise number 1. Whereas in this case, this is not using fact number 2. This is coming only from fact number 1 because letters and numbers are both in fact number 1. So this is a one premise question. This is a one premise question, whereas this is two premises question. Both the premises are used, right? And FIFA E, we apply FIFA E. This method is applied to a question that uses both the premises. All right, is this part clear? Okay, so if a question uses single fact, I have already solved this thing with you guys, so you can actually look for my session on syllogism one premise, which was this. Today's session is, hi Prabhu, today's session is if two facts are given and both are used. Okay, tell me in this one, if I say all A are B, no B is C, sum A is equal to C. Is this a single premise question or both the premise? Is it using single premise or is it using both the premises? बताइए guys. Single fact or both the facts? Is this one using single fact or both the facts? Yeah, it is using your both the facts, because A comes here and C comes from here, right? A is in this premise number 1 and C is in premise number 2, so it is using both the facts, so therefore it is using two premises, and we can apply this method. We can apply FIFA E. So this method could be applied. So FIFA is only applicable to question which has two premises and both the facts are being used. Before we start this method, we need to understand the term what is distributed. ठीक है, इसको मैं डिटेल में नहीं समझा रहा हूं अभी स्टार्टिंग में, इसको मैं बाद में समझाऊंगा बिकॉज दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, राइट? In the starting this is not required. You should what distribution is I'll show you, but what it means I'm not telling you. That is not required. This is a shortcut. Okay, so the term which is in the box is the term that is distributed. All A or B in this premise, your A is distributed because it is in the box. So something that I'm putting in the box, that term is distributed, right? So all A or B में A distributed है, some A or B में no term is distributed. If I'm saying some A or B, then no term is distributed. If I say no A or B in this type of a premise, both the terms are distributed, which is A and B. And if I say some A or not B, if I say some A or not B, then in that case B is distributed, right? So बस आपको देख के बताना है कि कौन सा टर्म डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है कि नहीं है. जब आपको पूरा मेथड समझ में आ जाएगा उसके बाद मैं क्वेश्चन वैसे आपको सॉल्व कराऊंगा. ठीक है, अभी के लिए इतना ही काफी है. ठीक है, ठीक है, ऑलराइट. सो नाउ in this one, when I say all letters are numbers, इस वाले में बताओ क्या डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है. When I'm saying all letters are numbers, you have to just give me 20 minutes guys. 20 मिनट में बहुत टेक्निकल लगेगा, लेकिन उसके बाद अगले 30 मिनट में आपसे सारे क्वेश्चन 10-15 सेकंड में सॉल्व होने लगेंगे, राइट? सो जस्ट गिव मी 20 मिनट्स ऑफ योर टाइम. ठीक है, इफ आई से ऑल लेटर्स आर नंबर्स, तो कौन सा टर्म डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है इसमें? ऑल लेटर्स आर नंबर्स में किस फॉर्म में है? ये इस फॉर्म में, राइट? इफ आई कॉल इट 1 2 3 4, all letters are numbers is in form 1. तो when it is in form 1, यहां पर A डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है, यहां पर लेटर्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड होगा, राइट? सो इन दिस सेंटेंस लेटर्स इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड. ठीक है, अब इस वाले में आ जाओ, सेकंड वाले में. सम नंबर्स आर अल्फाबेट्स. सम नंबर्स आर अल्फाबेट्स, ये किस फॉर्म में है? सबसे पहले सम नंबर्स आर अल्फाबेट्स किस फॉर्म में है? ये सम नंबर्स आर अल्फाबेट्स. सम नंबर्स आर अल्फाबेट्स आर इन द फॉर्म 2, तो इसमें नन, इसमें कुछ भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड नहीं है, इसमें कोई भी टर्म डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड नहीं है, राइट? इसमें नो टर्म इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड. सम अल्फाबेट्स आर लेटर्स, अगेन नन, एंड ऑल अल्फाबेट्स आर लेटर्स. ऑल अल्फाबेट्स आर लेटर्स में अल्फाबेट्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है. ठीक है, राइट? तो अब आपको डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पकड़ना तो आ गया, राइट? यू कैन फिगर आउट व्हाट distributed is. So let's say if I say this, if I say no teacher is sensitive, if I say this, that no teacher is sensitive, if I'm saying that no teacher is sensitive, so which term is distributed here guys? When I'm saying that no teacher is sensitive, कौन सी चीज डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है इसमें? When I'm saying no teacher is sensitive, थोड़ा सा लैग है, so I'll wait for your response. There is some lag here, so we'll have to get used to it. But if I say no teacher is sensitive, so which term is distributed here? नो टीचर इज सेंसिटिव. इफ आई से नो टीचर इज सेंसिटिव, कौन सा टर्म डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है? किस फॉर्म में है ये? थर्ड फॉर्म में. दिस इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ थर्ड. सो टीचर इज ऑल्सो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड and sensitive is also distributed, right? If I say that some teacher, if I say some teachers, if I say, yes, correct Paras, if I say some teachers are not sensitive, correct Vardhan, yes, correct. If I say some teachers are not sensitive, if I say some teachers are not sensitive, now this is in the form of 4. और इस केस में क्या डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है? ओनली सेंसिटिव, राइट? इस केस में ओनली सेंसिटिव डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है. सो नाउ वी एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई कि किसी भी प्रीमाइस या कंक्लूजन में डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड क्या होगा. तो अब हम रूल्स पे आते हैं. लेट्स कम टू द रूल्स गाइस. ठीक है, रूल वाला ई, इसका नाम नहीं बता रहा हूं, बहुत ही सिंपल है. पारस आई गेस थोड़ा सा लैग हर किसी के लिए होगा. वो YouTube का फीचर है. देयर इज अ लैग ऑफ इन YouTube, सो देयर वुड बी देयर ऑलवेज फॉर एवरीवन. ठीक है, ये देखो. इफ आई से दिस फर्स्ट रूल गाइस इज वेरी सिंपल. द रूल सेज फॉर अ वैलिड सिलॉग्स देयर मस्ट बी 3 टर्म्स, ईच टर्म शुड फीचर ट्वाइस. ठीक है, एक पहला रूल बहुत ही सिंपल है, 3 टर्म्स होने चाहिए, हर टर्म 2 बार आना चाहिए. सो नंबर 1 में लेटर्स, लेटर्स एक टर्म में 2 बार आया. नंबर्स, नंबर्स अनदर टर्म है, 2 बार आया. और अल्फाबेट्स, और अल्फाबेट्स 2 बार आया, राइट? सो लेटर्स एंड लेटर्स, नंबर्स एंड नंबर्स. सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट रूल, क्वाइट सिंपल. अगर ऐसा नहीं होता तो ये गलत होता. सिंपल, right? So for a valid slog, this rule says there needs to be 3 terms, each term should feature twice. So letters came twice, numbers came twice, alphabets featured twice. So this is, so far as E is concerned, E पास हो गया. ठीक है, हमारा E पास हो गया. इस वाले में देखो, नंबर सेकंड वाले में, नंबर सेकंड वाले में E पास हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ है? नंबर सेकंड में E पास हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ है? लेटर्स और लेटर्स फर्स्ट टर्म 2 बार आए, करेक्ट. नंबर्स और नंबर्स दूसरे टर्म में 2 बार आया. अल्फाबेट्स और अल्फाबेट